I'm a spiritual empath, shaman, and author. And I am here to talk to you today about how to dispel hate. Yes, hate is a mighty word. Uh, the In Taoist beliefs, hate would be equivalent to attachment. Hate is equivalent to or similar to enmity, which is bitterness, but they are all agents that when there's something that you hate, you glom onto it and you stick to it until you understand it on a deeper level. And it has been my experience that to better understand anything, it's like you can actually understand hate to death. Right? So, hello, Faith. Hi, Debbie. Thanks so much. Hate is a mechanism of understanding. It literally makes you stay attached to the thing that you don't understand until you understand it so well that it just doesn't matter. And you guys are going to laugh at this. So, as you know, my shameless plug, every one of these is my new book, Conquer Your Karmic Relationships. Heal spiritual trauma to open your heart and restore your soul. And in the book, I talk a lot about multiple topics, but I do cover hatred because it is so it's timely. So many people. The reason why I'm doing this particular topic today is because I got a phone call, a midnight phone call a couple of days ago from someone who was like, Tracee, I hate so much right now. How do I deal with that? How do I get rid of it? I don't want to feel this way anymore. And I think a lot of us can really align with that. Like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to feel scared. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel hatred or attachment to anything. So the funny part is that when I look in the when I look in the document of my manuscript to find what page I'm looking for, because I don't remember any of it. I put in the word hate, and I noticed there were 500 entries, and I'm like, I definitely didn't talk about hate that much. And so I looked, and it kept saying whatever, 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 hate, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, whatever contains hate. But it to me, it was like a sign of the antidote. Because truly the only way that you deal with hate is to dispel it, to no longer care about it, to say whatever. Whatever. So I love how spirit speaks to, through us, and with us at all times in many forms. So to talk more about hate, when we hate, it's really important to look at what the origin is of the thing you hate and your feelings towards it. So if you hate a person, place, thing, experience, feeling, really sit down and take an inventory of why you hate it. What is it about it that you hate? And oftentimes the things that you see in others or in other experiences, they remind you of things that you are not at peace with about yourself. And so that's the first place to look, is what is it I'm not at peace with in myself? But who wants to do that? Let's party. Just kidding. So that's the first place to look, is what is it I'm having a difficult time finding peace with? The second thing is, what exactly is it that you hate? What is the object, person, place, or thing? And really do an inventory. Ooh, excuse me, my battery's running low. Hold on. I thought I had it plugged in, but evidently I didn't. My bad. Sorry. Crisis averted. What is it about that thing, and how much power does it really have over me? Because at the end of the day, the only thing that really has power over you is you. I know it feels like you live in a world that controls your life, controls your thoughts, controls your desires, and absolutely we live in a world that influences all of those things. But at some point, we have to take authority over ourselves, where we're at, what we want, how we feel, and what we choose to do. So I want to read to you a paragraph in the book. If you haven't gotten the book yet, it's organized each chapter, and this is chapter part 4. It's called Mastery. And I organized the book in terms of the Slayer's path, the Slayer's pact, the Slayer's motto. You are the Slayer, and you have these different experiences, paths that you follow at any given time in your journey. And so I take those and I embellish them. I explain them and then give you an opportunity to recognize what it is in yourself. And this is the Slayer's path of mastery. Surrender to what is the only control you have. Ha. Surrender to what is the only control you have. When we talk about surrendering to what is, we are speaking of current physical world facts. Spiritually speaking, all dimensions of energy are the illusions we create and perceive, good, bad, or neutral, that support us in our human expression. Only until we accept what's happening in the physical world, we cannot make any change to it. So while we can receive information from all spiritual dimensions, it is surrendering to the truth of the real world that is paramount. So, Faith says, fucking surrender, man. Ah, yes, fucking surrender, man. Surrender means I see you, I acknowledge you, I have whatever feelings I have about you. You being the universal person, place, thing, whatever you is. Accept that it is what it is. Acknowledge that the control that it has is the control that you give it by giving it attention, giving it focus, giving it fear, giving it emotion. And I'm not saying to just ignore it. Many people think surrender is ignoring something when it's uncomfortable. And it's not that. It is turning towards it, facing it directly and saying, I see you right here. What? What now? Who are you? What are you? What do you want? Why are you here? Right? And you're asking these things of yourself about whatever this thing and your attachment to it. What are you and why are you? What's your message? What? But when you face it directly and you ask those questions and you receive those answers, again, you begin to understand it so well that it just, whatever, it doesn't matter as much. When it doesn't matter as much, you can have a clearer scope or perspective on what to do and how to do it. Okay, so here's another paragraph. Once you've surrendered to accepting things as they are, you can receive spiritual information on how to change what no longer serves you. Whether it's working through fear, addressing the truth, or innovating in some other way. This doesn't mean you can change others and their beliefs, but you can find ways of stating your case with a method that promotes listening. Yes. Or you can move away from the situation altogether. Either way, surrender is the only path forward when you're up against a wall. And then I get to what I call the 4 walls, building spiritual bridges to overcome them. When beginning to understand your karma and the spiritual purpose of emotion, it is necessary to focus on what I call the 4 walls: authority, fear, hate, and death. Authority, fear, hate, and death. The 4 walls are merely viewpoints, not truths. They center your attention on what is unmoving in you. I'm going to read that again. The 4 walls are merely viewpoints, not truths. They center your attention on what is unmoving in you. Authority. What you'd most like to avoid in yourself. Fear. Your deepest attachment to your self-loathing. Hate and your resistance to life, death. Okay, so those are the four walls. I'm going to check. Let's see. Hi, thank you, Carson, for tuning in, and you too, Stephen. So good to see you, and Melanie. Very exciting. So specifically, I want to talk about hate. Hate is your attachment that you have to your own self-loathing. And spiritually speaking, self-loathing, imagine this. Imagine that you are spirit. You don't have this big or tiny and petite blob of flesh. You don't have all of this. You're just this free-flowing spirit, feeling joy and freedom and movement and feeling unencumbered. And then you're injected into this body. And the first relationship to that freedom that is injected into a body and then has complete restriction, that feeling is self-loathing. Self-loathing makes you want to throw up, makes your throat hurt, makes you angry, makes you seethe. See, we always have so much fun when we have these talks, because I know you guys, you love talking about this stuff. So when you're seething, okay, I'm trying to get to, I know that there are more comments, but I don't see them. Okay. Anyway, so when you acknowledge this sense of self-loathing, which again, I'm going to say self-loathing equals restriction, right? And can't you align with a lot of what's going on in our political climate today? Right? Everybody's feeling, either really restricted, really frustrated. Okay, so let's see, but come on, when someone is just horrible to you and those you love, how do you just accept and move on? Okay, it's not about just accepting and moving on. It's accepting and making a choice to do something about it or not. So that is a really good point. That is the place that people get to. And when they still experience restriction in that way, they're still restricted. They can't make a move. They can't make a choice. They can't change their thoughts, right? Your hatred or your anger turns to hatred when you feel restricted and you cannot move. So, okay, someone is hateful and they are awful. If anybody has been a victim of a violent crime, that is one fucked up situation to recover from. So we'll just start there. So let's say you're a victim of a violent crime. And oftentimes people have PTSD. They can't, their psyche, their heart cannot comprehend the lack of control that they experienced. So they sit it away until at some point it becomes triggered and it all comes forth. And they have to deal with how much hate they have towards their perpetrator, whether it was a person that they knew, somebody they didn't know, a situation that they could control, one that they couldn't, one that they weren't aware of and were taken unawares. There's a lot of things about control that contribute to this illusion of hate. But your goal is to give yourself permission to feel whatever it is that you feel. When you hate someone or something, you are examining it. You are examining it until the point where you have so much understanding that you can either grieve and move forward. You can take an action. It's why so many people who experience really awful things in life and then they take up the cause, right? They start a foundation, they start talking about it, and then they say, I just want to do it to help people, right? They're giving meaning to their trauma. Not everybody wants to give meaning to their trauma, but it is a way that you can take an action that gives life to your recovery rather than continual life and to the restriction of the hatred and rage that you feel, right? So ultimately, let's say you hate something or someone and you don't know them, you can't speak to them. You can speak to them. There is always some way that you can address what you're feeling and get your voice to be heard, whether it's directly, indirectly, telepathically. Telepathic conversations are very powerful. But the most important thing, it's not whether or not someone hears you, it is whether or not you give yourself permission to feel and express what you most need to. Okay? Healing and forgiveness is not about the impact it has on someone else. It's not forgiving them. It's not letting them go and giving them permission to do what they did, or acknowledgement or condoning it. What it's doing is saying, I'm giving myself permission to not pay attention to you anymore, to not give you power over how I feel, to not put me in a position to feel fear every minute of every day. No, I won't do that. Right? So that the reason why I put authority, fear, hate, and death all in the same realm is because they all work together. When you are hateful of someone, you've got to give yourself permission to only pay attention to the degree that it serves you and your milieu. I've always loved that word, milieu. You and your peeps, right? You have to give yourself permission to only attach yourself to the things that are going to further serve you. And when somebody is angry, oops, sorry, phone call. It's my 1217 spam call that I get every day. It's terrific. But you've got to give yourself permission to state your case. And like I said, if you are, oftentimes we hate things that we don't understand. So you hate them until you gain the understand that you need, and then they're whatever. Love that. Whatever. Okay, so hold on. There's a few more comments. Let's see. Okay, we have, I could not stand to have my ex in the kitchen while I was cooking. But did I feel hate then? It's baffled me ever since. Okay, so sometimes, well, okay, let's restriction is the thought that comes to my mind. Sometimes we are around people and their energy we find restrictive. And we don't know how to acknowledge that, and we don't know how to talk about that. I worked with a psychic once who, she was always, Tracee, could you pull your energy back? And it always made me laugh because, like, no. I mean, of course I can, I try to read the temperature in a room, but I am who I am. And we have to be who we are, and we can't rely on others to change for our needs. So what we can do is we can figure out what it is that makes us feel restricted in a certain space, place, around a person and their energy, and then figure out what we want and figure out what is the resolution. Like in your case, Melanie, what did you want from him? Was he just in the kitchen and in your way? What was the resistance? That would be your consideration. What was your resistance, and what did you need? What did you need that you weren't getting from him, or mostly from yourself? Because oftentimes when there's something that we hate, it is bringing up yet again in our unconscious to our conscious mind, say, hey, pay attention to this. Listen to me. Your inner you is going, listen. So what is it that you need to listen to? What is it that you needed that you didn't give yourself first, or he or she second? So there's that. Okay. So Stephen says, so take the hate and focus it into action that helps others. Okay. Yes. Take the hate, take the focus of the energy and put it into something. And it doesn't always have to be, philanthropic. It can be something that helps you not hate. Right? Because the truth is, no matter how much you hate, I read this article on the QAnon people and the people who are really following that. And it's a cult-like structure. I mean, there's marketing. The principles of marketing is, I'm going to plant a seed and then you're going to water it for me. right? So I'm going to plant a seed, and you're going to take that wherever you go in the world, and you're going to water it for me. And it's going to get so big that it either serves you or it takes you over, one of the two. And it was an article about somebody who had gotten sucked into it, and all of a sudden he found himself taking 5 days off of work to be on the internet searching for evidence of something. And I was just like, whoo, right? Because sometimes when we get a thought or an idea or something that we are so focused on, it can suck all of our energy into it. Next thing we know, 5 days have gone by. And you're like, oh my God, what happened to all of that time? What did I do? So, okay. Interesting. Okay, so that makes sense. So Melanie answered her question for us. She said he wanted her to cook in silence when she liked to sing and dance. He was restrictive. He was restrictive. That's why you hated it, right? I mean, and that I love the sorry you had to go through that. I'm glad that you don't anymore. But most of all, I'm glad that you use this as an opportunity for the rest of us to be able to understand that there are 10,000 of these little motherfuckers every day. And the little motherfuckers I'm speaking of are the opportunities to cultivate hate because we feel restricted. We feel restricted. Somebody can't, I mean, they can. There actually is human trafficking and slavery, and those things are real. And people who have karmically experienced that, say someone who has been enslaved at any time in their soul history, they can come in with an imprint that makes them ultra aware of how the world or people are restrictive to them. Right? It's when we have been disrespected in our life, we are ultra aware of how people respect us. And sometimes we tend to command respect or demand respect as opposed to command respect. Right? So that all of this is interconnected because it's how you choose to take authority over yourself, your feelings. We don't have to be mean or jerks or angry to state our case, but sometimes it's the only thing that we feel gives us enough power or permission to state our case. So what we then have to do is we have to practice. We have to write out how we feel. We have to practice reading how we feel out loud. We have to get a friend on the phone and say, hey, I need to say these things. They're not to you or for you. I just need to say these things out loud so that I can know what it feels like to say that and have someone not respond to me in anger. So, so many of those things. Okay, I want to say that there are more, but I don't. It says that there are new messages below, but I don't see them. Okay, so that's what I got for you today. So, how to dispel hate is to shift your focus to on a deeper level, understand the object, the target of your hatred. When there's a target, we want to hit the bullseye, right? That's what our goal is. That's what we're trying to do. So focus on it. Ask yourself, what is my target and what do they mean to me? What do they represent to me? How do I feel about them or that? How do I feel empowered with that? How can I empower myself in relationship to that? Do I have feelings or thoughts or expressions that are unexpressed? Write them out. Write it all out. You don't necessarily have to have a confrontational conversation with somebody in order to reconcile what is undone for you. Because ultimately, again, when you understand it to the point at which it becomes whatever, it's not going to matter. And you will be free to move forward and go and do and be as you wish. So does anybody have any further? Hi, Les. I saw your name there. I didn't say hi. Does anybody have any questions or stories or anything else that you'd like to say? regarding hate. There's a really great book, and I can't see it from this far, but it's a book on hatred, and it really breaks down that. Thank you. It really breaks down the layers. Hate is a level of attachment that truly not everyone feels, and most people will never feel it. But hatred happens only when there is layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of spiritual density in regards to something or someone. So if you're feeling hatred and it's targeted at somebody, that's their peripheral. It is the multiple layers underneath that are so echoing that sense of self-loathing and restriction that you are feeling, that is what you need to unravel. And then give permission to forgive yourself, to forgive everyone involved in a situation for those things that you know about, and oftentimes things you do not know about. You might, we are karmic beings. We are souls that have multiple imprints that sometimes if we don't put the energy into that, we may never really know them, and some people don't really need to know them. But if you are feeling an emotion to that degree where you hate something, you need to dig into those layers and give yourself permission to either do the work or forgive yourself for having them in the first place. And you need to focus on and then call on that freedom that is there for you. And it will show you, Spirit will show you how to access that freedom. Okay, so we have two things. Let's see. Faith says, it's interesting now that I am breaking down some hate, the grieving that is happening. It's so deep. And Faith, that is so true. When let's say we have a childhood trauma. We have an experience, and we just push it away. And so every day of every minute of every day from our life from that point, and say we're now in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, every day we just pack it on top of it. We have layer upon layer upon layer of all the choices, thoughts, ideas, experiences that we chose or that we received to cover that original trauma up. So when you were doing the spiritual work and the emotional work and the psychological work to take up each one of those layers, you're going to get to that original and you're going to grieve it. You're going to dig it out with your emotions. Understand that when we grieve, which means you cry for 10 minutes or more, you are actually erasing some of your neural circuits that are holding on to that old memory. You are erasing that old memory because in its place, you're going to put the wisdom that old memory sought to give you. So know that if you were in a place of grief, that grief is purposeful. It is not eternal. What I mean by that, it's not going to happen forever. It's your grief. I liken it to a bag of rice. If you've got it, some people have a 50-pound bag, some people have a 5-pound bag. I had a 1,000-pound bag. And every time I cried and cried hard, I got rid of a pound here and a pound there and another pound here and another pound there. And eventually that bag is going to be empty. And when it is, you then get to start over. And all the while you are repopulating those neural circuits with new ways of seeing, feeling, and expressing yourself and your wisdom. So Melanie says, is all this included in that chapter in your book? And yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is Conquer Your Karmic Relationships. And we talked about today part 4, which is mastery. And your karmic relationship to authority, fear, hate, and death. So, oh yes, crying spells. We love crying spells. Yes. Every time you cry hard and loud. Let it out. It's going to be worth it. I don't know why it is, but sometimes bathrooms and kitchen floors are very productive for crying, just like throwing yourself on the floor. I'm not going to lie, it's kind of enjoyable. I kind of miss that, frankly. But then I had to clean much more often at that time, so I am just joking around. Um, yeah, cry loud, hard, and let that emotion shift the neural circuits in your brain to open up the wisdom codes that are inside of you already. Thank you. That's another thing to say, that when you cry, you are literally opening up the wisdom code of that information, of that dynamic in your life. You're opening it up in your body, and it eventually will guide you to the people, places, and things that are going to support that wisdom and that transition for you. So never, never be afraid of crying. It is your friend, no matter who you are, regardless of what you've been told. It is your friend, and it's a part of the path to get you to a place of freedom. Freedom is internal. Authority is internal, not external. Okay. What else? Anybody else got anything? This has been such a pleasure. It always is. My goodness. Did I miss anybody? Okay. So thank you so much. Buy the book. If you want, I can't believe I was looking at my website. I don't have this listed on my website. What a gal I am. This is the Demon Slayer's Handbook series. It comes with all three of the books. It's about $70. You can buy it from me on, you can go to my website, beaslayer.com or traceedunblazier.com. And I will get it on Tracee Dunblazier today, so that you can purchase it. If you're wholesale, you can buy them wholesale for 5 pieces or more. So I only have 250 pieces to go, and this is my 5th year in business, and this is commemorating my first product. So I'm really excited to offer it. So have a magnificent rest of your day and rest of your weekend. And yes, thank you so much. Always good to chat with you. Have a wait. Okay. Just thank you. Thank you. Have a magnificent rest of your day. Oh, 30. Oh, there we go. Stop stream. Yes, Melanie, it's on Kindle too. And I have a audiobook. That's coming out soon, next year. Okay.